Next, it is an absolute pleasure for us to invite our special guest, Mr. Thomas Albrecht, who is a representative from the UNHCR Malaysia, up to the stage, please. Sure.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Mr. Thomas, we actually have a gift of appreciation prepared for you. Please accept this.
I think you should have waited to the end of the speech. But thank you so much. Dear friends and colleagues, dear friends of refugee protection. Today, as we come together, we mark World Refugee Day. This is a day to honor the courage, strength, and contributions of millions of people around the world who have been forced to flee their homes due to violence or persecution or war. The echo is okay. It is a day to remember that with help from welcoming communities and neighbors, people can rebuild their lives and their networks and even thrive. However, it is sobering to realize that we mark World Refugee Day in a world that leaves many of the 35 million refugees in limbo. Too often, my conversations start with counterparts stating that there is a refugee problem. And frequently, I then have to explain that there is not a refugee problem, but that it is the refugees who have a problem. The problem of having to fear persecution, the problem of having to flee, often having to leave behind much of what made their lives, often family and loved ones. The real problem is persecution by ruthless perpetrators. These criminals in their home countries of refugees are the problem that needs to be recognized and resolved. UNHCR's tagline for World Refugee Day this year is "Hope away from home," a world where refugees are always included. This is apt in the context of the positive developments with the Malaysian government, which fuel our optimism in terms of the steps towards achieving a better enabling environment for refugees and asylum seekers. UNHCR has maintained engagement with the government on matters related to this, particularly in the shape of a national asylum framework, which includes access to legal work, as is the theme today. Now more than ever, it is important for all partners to come together and present a united, cohesive approach in advocating for refugee inclusion and access to basic rights and services. The silver lining of the pandemic has shown the power and magnitude of unity in responding to a crisis when common understanding is formed across all walks of life and differences can be put aside to work towards a greater good. The onus is on us, as informed and active members of the community, to try to foster this common understanding and to curb misinformation, which, as we have seen, can have exponential, detrimental effects on the community and any progress we have made as a whole. It should be our priority to strengthen evidence-based advocacy. Messaging backed by facts not only holds the strongest against misinformation, but also helps policymakers build an accurate image of the needs on the ground, the potential benefits of inclusion, and ultimately will feed into policy changes that are representative of the population in its targets. As with the words, today, act, talk together. Work towards the protection space for all refugees, regardless of their country of origin or ethnicity. Convene different stakeholders together, leveraging on respective strengths and reaching a common goal. In the spirit of the Sustainable Development Goals and Malaysia Madani, work towards an environment of shared space and prosperity together without leaving anyone behind. We can all commit to do our part in providing more hope, opportunities, and solutions for refugees while they are away from home. Including refugees in the communities where they have found safety is the most effective way to enable them to rebuild their lives and contribute to local economies and the countries hosting them. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, today in Malaysia there are some 181,000 refugee men, women, and children who have been forced to flee their countries due to war, persecution, and complex human rights issues. We have many opportunities today with various stakeholders in the government, private sector, and civil society alike to strengthen support towards refugees, innovative approaches, and to explore new areas of cooperation and collaboration to address both the interests of Malaysians and the protection needs of refugees in ways that are mutually reinforcing. Working more closely in partnership is also critical in strengthening advocacy. Honored guests, on this World Refugee Day celebration, allow me to express my deepest appreciation to all refugee friends. I pay tribute to your perseverance and fortitude in rebuilding your lives after having fled the worst forms of violence and persecution. And I honor your achievements and contributions to the communities that have welcomed you. Allow me also to express my profound thanks to all governments and peoples around the world who have worked together to support refugees. Their commitment and dedication has never been more crucial. We know that there is a high cost to exclusion, and there is a significant benefit and return on investment to inclusion in all aspects of life. Bringing back normalcy through inclusion of refugees is the best investment any society can make. As a result of being forcibly displaced from their homes due to conflict and persecution, refugees have distinct and often more acute needs compared to other non-citizens in Malaysia. Similar to local communities, refugee communities typically rely on informal networks, self-help, and social welfare groups to support families and individuals facing hardship, especially with basic necessities and psychosocial support. Experience worldwide has shown that well-organized self-help and social welfare groups are central to managing refugee situations. These community groups reinforce the dignity of refugees, encourage healthy behavior, improve mental health, and promote peace within and between communities. This is especially true here in Malaysia, where refugees do not receive material assistance from the government and thus must be fully self-reliant. Refugee self-help and social welfare groups therefore take a vital role in supporting refugees to access essential services without placing additional requirements on public systems. Self-help groups undertake volunteer initiatives, improve families' capacity for greater self-reliance, and strengthen mental health through social activities and networks in order to restore hope. Refugee social and community support groups work to provide essential social support to navigate host societies, institutions, and mitigate social problems by building bridges with host societies while helping to implement government initiative, as we, for example, have seen highly successfully during the COVID-19 pandemic and the related vaccination campaign. Working together with refugee self-help and social welfare groups provides an avenue to implement sustainable public programs in areas such as community welfare, health, and security. These groups are key not only to promoting the Madani version of a civilized, skilled, and inclusive society based on sustainability, prosperity, innovation, respect, trust, and compassion, but also to support the Sustainable Development Goal Target 10.2, which aims to empower and promote the social, economic, and political inclusion of all, and to promote peaceful and inclusive societies. While a framework is being developed that permits refugees to work formally in Malaysia, many of the 133,000 refugees of working age in Malaysia seek employment in the grey economy in order to have access to legal work. Refugees would be able to fulfill alleviating human trafficking concerns, plan on forced labor, which calls for a human-centered strategy to protect refugees and asylum seekers from labor abuses. This is vital to maximize the potential contribution of refugees to Malaysian economy. Billion ringgit to annual gross domestic product through higher spending, as well as 50 million ringgit in taxes, according to the Institute for Democracy and Economic Affairs in Malaysia. A survey conducted by the Malaysian Employers Federation found that 69% of employers were interested in hiring refugees if they could do so legally. Unlike migrant workers, refugees, as we know, were forced to flee their countries of origin. This means that restrictions usually applicable to foreign workers are not practical for refugees who cannot safely return home if their employment under a particular employer or sector comes to an end. But a well-designed scheme with minimal bureaucracy can be a win-win-win for everyone. And you will certainly hear much more about these great opportunities during the forthcoming panel discussion. In closing, let me emphasize once more: talk, act together. Of sharing perspectives and views in the spirit of inclusivity and collaboration to foster hope away from home. And I thank you. And I have to apologize. As I had told the organizers, I have to go for another meeting. and also the panel discussion. And I'm eagerly looking forward to get a briefing from her and the other colleagues who are going to meet up in interest and all your efforts and the work for your communities. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. It was very insightful, and we have a sense of hopefulness after hearing your speech. As we now get reminded, there are people out there who acknowledge the difficulties that we refugees treating as another passerby of the day are instead focusing and pushing. Thank you so much for your speech, Mr. Thomas, and taking your time off your busy schedule. Thank you so much.